done, mowing, weed eating, all that kind of stuff. And we are not yet formally started. We got a couple of minutes left. We're just sort of in warm-up mode. And I'm going to talk about a bunch of cool stuff today, including, and which screen are you guys seeing? Are you seeing where it says duckweed, Mark? Is it showing it yet or not? Let me see. Umbrellas. About this now. All right. And now I can actually, I think, just go back and forth between screens here. All right. Well, it is top of the hour. We're going to get started. Good day, world. I almost said something that was from a famous movie that I can't remember the name of right now, but way back. And it was, I believe, Robin Williams that said what I'm going to say in just a minute, famous comic. And he was, "Good morning, Vietnam." Yeah. Good morning, Vietnam. So, but this is Good Morning World. And was it Robin Williams, Mark? That's what I thought. All right. I also was watching something last night, streaming, and saw that the producer was Peter Blake. For some reason, my head went, Peter Blake. Why am I remembering that name? And it wasn't Peter Blake I was remembering, it was Robert Blake. And let's see if anybody in the chat area and the question area can guess why that name is a little bit of a famous name, Robert Blake. Not Peter Blake, Robert Blake. And I'll tell you in a minute, but Mark, you don't get to guess. Well, let's let the rest of the group see if they can guess. He's an actor, right? And made several really famous movies / television shows / he was way before streaming, and he's dead now, by the way. But so that's why I knew it was impossible that the guy I was thinking of would have been producing something today. But again, I was wrong. The guy's name was Peter Blake. All right, we're going to talk about a number of things today, but the main one, and I'll get to it right after the secondarily important one, is what are the 10 different stories that are the most newsworthy today in the world about ecological and environmental issues. And I did Google searches to come up with this. I did other kinds of searches, but ultimately, again, you know that I'm a fan. I believe this is going to be huge, and that's AI. And I did not use ChatGPT. I used Bard, and you're seeing my screen right now where it's showing a prompt about the 10 most newsworthy stories today about environmental and ecological issues. So that's going to be the big topic we spend most of our time on. But before that, and Mark, you are seeing that, right, where it says, give me more detail on the case of West Virginia versus the EPA. Is that right? So, okay. All right, first, we're going to look at something that here at EAT, we're going to do a lot more of, and we want you to be involved. We're going to write a lot more books, specifically ebooks, and we're going to publish them on Amazon and other places. And this is one that I just finished. It's a huge passion of mine. which is duckweed. In Europe, they call it limna. That's the scientific name, actually. But duckweed is the smallest flowering plant, and I have given a talk about this one time a while ago. It's the smallest flowering plant in the world. And it's tiny, so about the size that I know, smaller than that, an eighth of an inch or so in size when it's full grown. It will completely rebuild its population in 3 days. So, meaning if there was 100 metric tons of it today, 3 days from now, there'd be double that. 200 metric tons. 3 days from that, there'd be 400 metric tons. 3 days from that, there'd be 800. Now, in a body of water, okay? Now, obviously, at some point, that overturn and growth becomes limited by the space, the size of the body of water that it's in. But the cool thing is, if you harvested it, if you had 100 metric tons in your system today, and you harvested it, and you could harvest it with screens, and then you waited 3 days, you could harvest another 100 metric tons 3 days from now. In other words, you'd missed enough in the pond that it would grow again up to that same amount of volume in 3 days. So it's prolific. It grows amazingly well in temperate climates. And it's an amazing livestock feed. It has protein levels over 45% by dry weight. And it's a very high nutritional value for livestock. It can even be a human food. It's not very tasty. It's kind of bland, but it would be a great source of protein for humans that were vegans or vegetarians, that didn't eat any kind of protein from any kind of an animal source. So this book will publish on Amazon. I'm just going to stream through it. You can actually do it as a flip book, which will actually turn the pages, but my system is just slow enough that doesn't work. So I'll just quickly stream through it. Here's the table of contents. It's actually 80 plus pages long. There's sources for everything that's published in here, and those are described, but lots of photos, descriptions. Starts out with an overview. There's a frog and a bunch. There's duckweed all around that frog. Here's just a big body of water. Here's pictures of it in the water and coating of the eye. It's an eye of a alligator. Actually, here it is at sort of the level looking out at a city. By the way, that looks a lot bigger. Those leaves aren't as big as they look in that picture. There's a frog coated with it, a spider crawling on top of it with leaves. And what's interesting is nowhere in the world is it being harvested or cultured at any level. Great opportunity here. There's a duck sitting in a bunch of it just to show you how small it is. Another frog. A bird sitting on rocks. Anyway, about 83 pages, I think, in total, and with lots of great information. Haven't decided on a price yet on Amazon. Probably $4.99, $3.99 for the ebook to get it in Kindle form or some other electronic form. Amazon will even publish, if you don't know it, they will publish in a written form for you. You pay them a fee. So here's the glossary, as well as references for future reading, and then just kind of a summary page at the end. So we're going to publish many more of these kinds of books. I've personally written 2 or 3 more. We want you to write some. We will help you. This is written using a program that's not cheap. And if you had to buy it, you may say, I can't afford that. Called Designer. We have a license to have multiple users work with it. And we can now make that available. So that's what we're going to be doing with, if you remember from the web page we showed that's upgraded now and new, the eco-intelligence side of EAT, the Economic Action Team and the Institute of Economics. So we're going to really work with our group, our team, to help them make money. So we're not just going to teach about topics in economics. We are going to physically help our membership that are involved with our eco-intelligence side of the business and help them make money. So one of those ways is to write books. And you guys all have your own topics that you're passionate about. And you don't even have to be experts. You just have to be passionate. We can help you write the book. And then what if you sold 1,000 copies of a $4 book when it took you let's say less than 40 hours to write it, 25 hours or something? That would be 25 into 4,000 is $40 an hour. Is that right? Yeah. So not bad. All right. Now let's go to our topic about the 10 most newsworthy items in the ecological and environmental space today. Here's one of them. And these aren't in order, one being more newsworthy than another. This is one of 10. And by the way, you wouldn't be able to get this from GPT chat, which is the competitor to Bard, which is Google's version, because it's only current as of September 2021. So if you ask GPT chat for the top 10 newsworthy items today, it wouldn't be able to give you that. It would literally say, I'm only current as of September of 2021. Bard is up to date up till today. So there's a lot of other ways that GPT chat is maybe better, but Bard is really good. And I'll show you another way that it's better. So I also asked it to give me a description, which it did here, of this West Virginia versus EPA that the Supreme Court ruled on back in 2022. And what they did is they reduced, they changed a portion of the Clean Air Act that would have caused power plants to dramatically reduce their emissions by 2030. And they said that that wasn't constitutional. So that has taken this away. Well, if I were to have, again, asked for that on GPT chat, I wouldn't have gotten it because the case wouldn't even have been judged by that time, because this happened in November of 2022. So then I asked it for the specific sources, which it gave me. So here's the New York Times published today, this article about this ruling. And notice it gives even the logo of the New York Times. ChatGPT wouldn't do that. It wouldn't give you a kind of an image. And then here's the Washington Post that published the article. By the way, I didn't read these specifically. I think they're all the same article that were published and then put out in a variety of different sources. The Associated Press, Bloomberg. So, but here's another thing that Bard will do. I'm going to go down a little further here because I asked it for pictures. And I actually went backwards here, so I've got to go down just a little ways to go to this one here. And in this case, it said it couldn't find 10 photos. Said I could not find any photos of news agency reports, but it gave some others related to air pollution standards, which this is a great picture here. I've used one like this, actually one I took myself in a lot of presentations. This is emissions coming out of stacks from industrial plants. And most of what you're seeing here is water vapor, and it's not that toxic. When you see a stack and all you see is just a little swirl in the air above it, that's when you need to because that means that it's producing emissions that will have carbon, nitrogen dioxide, and other harmful airborne emissions. When you can see it, it's usually water vapor, and water vapor in and of itself is not that much of a problem. But I was able to get pictures of a lot of really cool things. So one of the other questions that I asked was about the Trump administration rollback of environmental regulations that's being challenged in court. And here's just some things related to, there's obviously a court building, a bunch of dead fish, some kids in probably a third world country, kids that are potentially starving with dead fish on the water below them. And then just a great model of a globe. And it seems like we've even used this picture some, Mark. It's one that's a common private label. It's free. And then I asked for 10 photos that were published about the ocean being increasingly polluted with plastic. So look, here's the pictures that it gave, which shows a bird stuck plastic, all this plastic that is washed up in the mouth of a whale. This is a beach dead whale. Look at all that plastic in there. Isn't that awful? Well, here's a beach somewhere. Look at all that plastic on the beach. Here's a fish that's surrounded by plastic, a seagull eating a piece of plastic. There's another beach with plastic, another one. And this is just horrible, everybody. Look at how horrible this picture is of a area, a beach, probably along the ocean. Here's one where I ask about this story, which is that the Arctic is melting at an alarming rate, which is opening up new shipping routes. So it shows some ships going through areas that used to be ice and now are thawed. So you just see areas which are breaking up pieces of ice, which is actually really cool. So there's there's an oil rig, which is one of the things that would be creating pollution. There's polar bears who are also being affected. So again, Bard will do this and GPT chat won't. So this one is about the Amazon. That was a newsworthy article today, and it's showing pictures of deforestation. So there's forested area over here on the left. There's a deforested area on the right. Here's a protest about deforestation. Here's again, left side, it's been deforested, right side is not. There's a fire raging through an area where when there's lots of deforestation, there's a lot of dry matter on the ground. Fires can be much more easily spread over millions of acres, even in some cases. Here's another image of deforestation from a satellite. Another one here. And here's where people are planting back in some areas. Here's what the Amazon has looked like through time until this deforestation. So really cool pictures. And so that's another topic here, is one about the Great Barrier Reef that is becoming bleached. So this is actually underwater. The water's so clear, and yet it shouldn't be this white color. It should be green. And this is showing the bleaching. That's really the only picture that I think did a good job of showing it. The others weren't so great. And then I asked, what are the sources? So here's the Guardian, which is a newspaper from England, and an article written today. Sydney Morning Herald, article written today. The Australian, article written today. BBC News, CNN, so on. Here's the question about the Amazon and what are the articles that were written today. So one in the New York Times, in the Guardian, the Washington Post, Reuters, the Independent. So you could look these specific articles up. I, again, didn't take it to that extent, but you certainly could. Here's one about the sea melting and the sources. Here are places where it was published today. And here's the specific articles in several of those. Actually, all of them. So it's telling exactly what they were. Here is the sources for the plastic pollution, and here they are. Here's the articles, and here is the sources for the Trump administration's rollback of environmental regulations that are being challenged in court. So here's specific Trump administration rollback being challenged in court. Trump administration environmental rollbacks face new legal challenges. So all of that. And here's the EPA decision about the West Virginia versus the US EPA and the specifics of those articles. Here's our articles about the Biden administration's criticism related to the Western United States drought. And the criticism is that people don't think he's acting quickly enough on. So again, lots of good information. Sometimes you have to be a little skeptical of it. You got to be careful. We've been looking up topics, like we did one recently on our staff about living energy farms, and we asked for the URLs and the email addresses of the people that are leading a variety of these different farms. I think we've asked for as many as 40 of them, and probably half of those are websites that don't exist anymore, or email addresses that don't exist. So they're not accurate. So you got to be careful about that. You just have to do your research. Do good research. And this is just, I was asking it for more detailed information about each one of those topics that we just discussed. And again, it gave it to me. And again, I scanned this enough to see that it's actually pretty accurate. There's the Trump administration rollback that's got articles being written just today, and what are the topics that they're writing about. Here's the oil and gas industry facing increased scrutiny today. Here's the Supreme Court decision that we described, and so on. So that went fast. I finished that in about half the time that I thought I would. I haven't looked, Mark. Is there any questions from the audience here? Go ahead, Mark. Yeah, it's great you gave us those, but I was looking for things that are specifically newsworthy today. In other words, what was there written today? These topics, things have been written about forever, but some of those topics probably didn't have anything written about it today. So they did yesterday or the day before or whenever, had lots of things written. But so I was specifically looking for those that would have been written today. I wanted to see how good that Bard would be at finding that information, and it was pretty good. But Alicia, thank you. Those are great. Well, we are only about half an hour in, but I'm not going to, these Talk with Wayne sessions are not going to be extended just because it's an hour. I'm going to stop them when kind of to the end of what I wanted to be presenting. I do have a couple other things. I bought a new used vehicle a couple weeks ago, close to a month now, actually. It was a 2006, so it's 17 years old. And in Colorado, in the urban areas, we have emissions testing that's required for vehicles that either are of a certain age, so it's older vehicles, more than 10 years old usually, or if they're newer, some of them require it if they use diesel fuels, because we have what's called a DEF system that has to be put on diesel engines here in the United States. Anyway, bottom line is that when I bought this car, I knew it would probably be old enough to require emissions testing, but I didn't do something that I should have, which is should have researched whether it had failed an emissions test recently. So when I took it in today to get its emissions test so I could get it registered, the guy that was working there was very nice to me. They weren't very busy, which is, I think, why he could spend a little more time. And he told me that I know that this had recently failed a emissions test. And I said, no, I didn't know that. He said, you know, that's public record. And I said, yeah, I probably did know that, but I didn't pay attention to it. He said, I would recommend that you not get it tested today. And for one reason, and that was it. He said, I don't know whether it will actually pass our emissions test or not, but it will fail for one specific reason. It has nothing to do with its emissions. It has to do with what's called a check engine light. They have rules that say that if a check engine light is on, doesn't matter what your emissions are, you fail. He said it's a stupid rule, but it's a rule. Well, it is a stupid rule because this is supposed to be emissions testing. They actually totally ignore many other things that it'd be great if they actually did require a look at. Safety, for example. If your seat belts don't work, they don't care. You're in there for an emissions test. let's say you can't open your door from the inside. You have to open a window and reach outside to open it. It's pretty dangerous. It's a big safety concern. A lot of older cars, that is the case. And that is not tested. And that's not at all part of a process. But for whatever reason, a check engine light is. So do newer cars, Mark, in Bangladesh, and they would be probably post 2010, so less than 15 years old, have check engine light, little light. Do you have do you have emissions testing at all? Do you have emissions requirements at all? Okay. They're really safety tests, which is what I think they should have here in the US. We don't have anything like that. We don't have anything like that anywhere. That's what we should have. We ought to have a fitness test, just like you guys have. That's a lot smarter than what we do. Makes a lot more sense. So if you ever, what happens if you fail? What do? They make you get it fixed and then come back again? Okay. What is, where, and what country are the most popular cars you see on the road manufactured? Yeah. What about now Korean cars like Kia? I think that's a Korean brand. I don't think that's uh, Toyota is. Toyota, yeah. Any Chinese brands? Ah, electric cars. Yeah. Do your apartment complexes have charging stations? Yeah. Remember I told you when I was at Consumer Electronics Show that I'm not remembering the name of it now, but there was well, I do too remember it. There was a Bangladeshi manufacturer of appliances called Walton. That's why I remember, because it was the same as our very wealthy family, the founder of Walmart. So, but it's not all related from what I was told. They have no relationship. It's just something else, reason why it was called Walton. Okay. Huh. But again, Walton is a very English name. So I wonder how they came up with the name. That's what seems different. It's interesting. Well, I don't see any other questions. Alicia, thank you as always for what you've thrown in there. It's always great. And she actually put some comments today, Mark, on the webpage, the table of contents. So we should make sure, yeah, reply back on some of those. We are still working on our website, everybody. We've got a lot of work still to do. Where the logo's not changed everywhere yet. We're making it sure we get it done. We're trying to add graphics, make it easier to use. Trying to do a lot of things to just make it easier for you as members to use. Well, I think we'll call it for the day. Let's just wait just a second here and see if we get any other comments or thoughts. I'm going to go back out and work outside. It's a beautiful afternoon, and everything's green. We've gotten a little rain lately, which we need. So, is it hot there? Oh yeah, it was. It isn't that hot yet. We're very comfortable. We're in the high 70s, 21, 23, like that. So very comfortable. Yeah. All right, well, let's call it, Mark. It's a good one. We'll make it a wrap. Everybody, good day. Bye-bye.